learn Chinese in Beijing? Yes, no. Why should you learn Chinese in Beijing? Well, Beijing is the most popular and famous destination for learning Mandarin worldwide. It is where most people go to study Mandarin. They have been doing so for a long time and there are many reasons for it. And I'm going to talk today about if you should go to learn to Beijing to study Mandarin. And if yes, why? And also maybe why not? So I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you should learn Chinese in Beijing and then 3 reasons why you might not want to learn Chinese in Beijing. So the first one is most obvious. Beijing has fantastic Mandarin pronunciation. People speak very standard Mandarin in Beijing. There's a local Beijing accent, but overall Beijing is one of the cities in China that has the best and most standard pronunciation. So what you will be hearing on the street and the subways is very similar, or actually exactly the same, as what you'll be learning in a textbook. So that makes studying, of course, a lot easier. Another reason are the great schools. Like the highest teaching quality for Mandarin worldwide really is in Beijing. That's where most of the teachers are, most of the good schools, the private schools, universities. The whole teaching environment there is very good because it's been such a popular place to study Mandarin for. So that's why there are great facilities. And there are so many people with so much experience in teaching Mandarin that it's really a very good place for them. The third reason is that Beijing is just an amazing city to live in. It's this amazing combination of old and new. You have the old little hutongs with the temples hidden away and all these small little historic things you can find there. Plus, of course, the Forbidden City and the Great Wall and stuff like that. At the same time, it's a very modern city, a very internet run. Everything goes through your mobile phone. You pay with your mobile phone for everything. It's super modern at the same time. It's a very exciting place to be in. It's also just about an hour drive out of the city. You have the mountains, the Great Wall, and you can be completely outdoors in a quiet forest with nobody there at all. Have fantastic hiking. You have a 45 minutes drive from our school. There is a skiing resort. You can go skiing, you have a lot of winter sports there, 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, of course. So there's a lot of activities for outdoor, indoor, new, old. It's just a really cool place to live in. The fourth reason, of course, is immersion. Now, if you want to learn Mandarin, the most important thing is to immerse yourself into Chinese culture and language. You need to speak, live, dream everything Mandarin, no English. And Beijing is a great place for that. 20 million Chinese people who speak Mandarin at home. So living with a Chinese family in Beijing is a great way to immerse yourself, and you have this whole world of Chinese culture, music, literature, so much stuff going on, and you can immerse yourself in that, and that's the best way to learn Mandarin. Beijing has 1.5 million university students. Just take that. It's enormous. So if you just get a little bit part of that society, that's the best way for you to learn Mandarin. And that's fantastic about Beijing. Now, the fifth reason is that Beijing, on top of all of this, is also a very international city. So while you have all the Chinese stuff there, and it's the center of Chinese culture, it really is. At the same time, you have a very vibrant, big international community there. So from international clubs, restaurants, chains, companies, it's a lot of stuff there. So you can be meeting very interesting people from all over the world who are coming to Beijing for all kinds of reasons, for studying Mandarin, diplomats, politicians, business people, loads of people. It's a very international environment there, and you can get everything international you possibly want. Fantastic international level healthcare, you have restaurants, food, everything. You can buy whatever you need, you can get it in Beijing. Absolutely no problem. So these are 5 reasons why you should study in Beijing. And I love Beijing, and I think studying Beijing is a fantastic choice, and you should learn Chinese in Beijing. However, there are also some reasons why you might not want to study in Beijing. And now let me give you 3 of those. The first one is that Beijing is not cheap. Particularly for accommodation, Beijing has become quite an expensive place. So your rent in Beijing will not be cheap. Also other things in Beijing tend to cost more money than in other cities, bar maybe Shanghai. So you will be spending more for studying Mandarin in Beijing than you would in another city. A much better choice for that, for example, would be a smaller city like Beijing, where accommodation costs are a third or 20% of what you'd be paying for rent in Beijing. The second one is, well, interesting, it was just a positive point. It's very international, right? It has a huge Chinese community, but it also has a very sizable international community. So that's a great point, but it's also a negative, because that gives you a lot of temptation to remain in that expat bubble, because that is possible in Beijing. It has such a vibrant international community that there is a lot of temptation to just go and live in that. It's easy to get out because there's so much Chinese outside as well, but it's also very easy to stay inside because it's warm and cushy and everybody speaks English. And it's very nice, isn't it? And you're meeting a lot of people, but you never ever speak any Mandarin. So that is not good. So you have the non-immersion temptation in Beijing very much. In another city like Chengde, for example, that does not exist. There are no foreigners living there, so you're going to speak Mandarin all the time, if you want to or not. You'll always be immersed. In Beijing, that is different. The last one I'm going to say is the environment. Now, Beijing has got so much better in the last 10 years for getting its air cleaned up and for having a much better living environment today than it used to have. However, it is still a city of 20 million people, which means these are not the Swiss Alps. Now, if you're looking for a pristine nature environment, well, a city of 20 million people is not the right place. We're having a fantastic subway system, bike sharing systems, electric cars have become very popular in Beijing. So there's a lot of stuff being done about the environment. However, it is still a city of 20 million people. If you're looking for a place with pristine air and a fantastic environment, then probably a city like Taipei might be a bit better, which is close to the sea, has a lot of wind that constantly blows everything out. It's much smaller, it doesn't have as many things going on. So that is also a negative for Beijing. Alright, so 5 reasons why to study Chinese in Beijing, 3 why not. Now, I lived 16 years in Beijing. I love Beijing. I studied Mandarin in Beijing, and I really think you should do it too, because it's just a fantastic city to live in, not just to study. And when you just love the place where you study, and you can use the language all the time, and you get to learn it. So I would say, yes, learn Chinese in Beijing.
Track.